Hey everyone, my name is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about some good old-fashioned Kanye West news. Kanye has been pretty quiet in 2020. There's been rumors that he's been doing things, but he hasn't really come out and said anything. The most that we've gotten for him is just reactions to the Forbes article or some of the quotes for the Forbes Kanye's a Billionaire article that were really antagonistic towards Forbes. But aside from that, not too much, which has left me kind of a little nostalgic for Kanye and some active Kanye updates and news. So we're going to be going through the crumbs that we have. And, the first one is pretty exciting. I have never been one for unreleased Kanye tracks, right? Mostly because a lot of them are just incredibly unfinished, and that holds no value or appeal to me. And even some of the ones that are finished, they lack the context of being on the album, which is a lot of what I get from Kanye songs, not just the individual song, but the meaning on the album, the meaning as part of the concept or narrative. If you've listened to our podcast ever, you know how into that I am. So the fact that unreleased tracks have come out from Life of Pablo or Yandhi, I don't get all that excited about them. But this one, not Wake the Dead. Wake the Dead was okay, catchy at times, but this sounds like a iPhone recording of something. Quality's iffy. But LA Monster. LA Monster is such a jam. I remember hearing snippets of it right before Jesus is King came out, but this is the first time that I've heard the full 2-minute thing. And man, I wish this would have been on the album. It would definitely be the contender for my favorite song on Jesus is King. I don't want to say it would be a contender for like top 10 Kanye songs of all time, but it's definitely would be my current and latest obsession with a Kanye song. Sometimes you go back through and rediscover songs and they really feel fresh again after a long time away from a specific album, or just it catches you right and you're like, this is why people love this song. Champion has been that for me lately from Graduation. I always liked it, but I never loved it. And recently I've just been on a Champion kick. So LA Monster definitely is taking that position of just the Kanye song I'm obsessed with right now. I do wonder if it got booted from the album, maybe because it's so critical and Kanye didn't want to go that route. But it also has a soundscape that's a little bit similar to Closed on Sunday. It reminds me of like Closed on Sunday and Only One and Use This Gospel all kind of mixed together. But I do wonder if it kind of got replaced by Closed on Sunday, which still talks about the idea of vipers and people getting you to conform to their standards or indoctrinating you. A little bit of this antagonism and criticism of culture. But I dig what he's doing on LA Monster a lot. And if it does make it onto Jesus is King 2, if Jesus is King 2 ever sees the light of day, which Kanye doesn't have a good track record for that, I hope so, but who knows? I hope LA Monster makes the cut. And then Up From the Ashes was also cool, but nothing as special to me as LA Monster was. So as of 2:56 a.m. on May 9th, Saturday, May 9th, these links are still live. So the link will be in the bio if you want to check those out and listen to them. Otherwise, your best bet would just be asking me on Twitter at Kanye Podcast. I can retweet it and hopefully somebody can send you a file. So the next story here that we have, kind of a dumb one. Sometimes I don't even feel like these are worth addressing, but Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are reportedly staying on opposite ends of the house to keep things civil. So anytime there's gossip like this, you have to look at the sources and also keep in mind that Kanye and Kim are two of the biggest page click getters in the world. And people love marriage ruination stories. There's a reason why Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were on the cover of every tabloid, like over and over and over again, even when their relationship was great. It's just those things tend to get clicks, views, magazines bought. So Cosmopolitan, which has kind of lost a lot of its credibility, is here reporting from a source that tells The Sun, one of the biggest and worst gossip rags in the world. And Kim and Kanye have been holed up in Wyoming. So if there is validation to this, it's just the fact that Kim's always been LA based. She's always loved Los Angeles. When Kanye first talked about his family moving out to Wyoming, he made it seem like it was going to be full time, and Kim was like, no. And they ended up splitting time between Los Angeles, Wyoming, everywhere else they've been going. And maybe because of everything with COVID and the stress of COVID, there could be more tension, just the fact that they've been in Wyoming for so long, just that one place. And also because of COVID, you can't have the same staff around. So whatever support staff that Kim and Kanye have relied on may not be as actively present in the household. So the report just says that while Kanye has continued to focus on work, Kim's been left with the kids. And it's kind of causing her to be stir crazy, that they've been at each other's throats. If it is happening, I don't know how much of a big deal that it is that couples are fighting over some superficial stuff. I mean, that happens so often in relationships, and it's not serious, but because it's Kim and Kanye, it gets reported like it's the biggest deal in the entire world. But odds are that it's not even a thing that's happening, and this is just exaggeration as people continue to look for things to make up and claim about Kim and Kanye just for the clicks that it generates for them. So if you see that story coming up or people asking, this article I thought was going to have so much potential. I saw this and I was like, oh, Fiddy's somebody that like doesn't pull punches. If he has insight on this, he's going to share some insight. Like we're going to learn something about like the Jay-Z Kanye dynamic that only somebody like 50 Cent could know. I don't know what I expected. So Complex article, I've been kind of critical about Complex recently. But 50 Cent shares why he thinks Jay-Z is so disappointed by Kanye in new book. And you're like, oh, this is going to be like interesting. Like why Jay-Z is disappointing, like maybe, or disappointing in Kanye. Maybe he had a conversation with him. Maybe he heard something. So you get this first paragraph that's just background on the Kanye 50 Cent 2007 release day feud, followed by a paragraph that's just 50 has a new book out, followed by 50 talking about Jay-Z taking over Def Jam and what that means. Still nothing about why Jay's disappointed. And then it talks about how Jay would have had a vested interest in Kanye beating 50 because 50 felt that at the time Jay-Z was really threatened by 50 because Jay had been the king of New York, and now there's this other guy from New York who's getting the same radio play, getting like acclaim, and this is a challenge to Jay-Z's status as the king of hip-hop in New York City. So it was in Jay's best interest to have 50 kind of brought down by Jay's protege, Kanye West. And that's still like the fourth and fifth paragraph are that. And then the sixth paragraph finally sets up the divisiveness and the information that we're going to get. And then it's just, Jay took a lot of pride in Kanye's victory. I think that's one of the reasons he's so disappointed in Kanye today. It's frustrating to me because I've been writing for Forbes for the last year, and Kanye's my beat, right? And I can't write content like this because it's considered clickbaity, pointless. Like, what value does this possibly bring to anybody? And then I don't get clicks. I don't get the money from it. And frankly, I wouldn't write an article like this because I see a quote like that and I think, no, there's nothing here I'm going to waste people's time writing, which no offense to the author of this, like they need to get paid. They're just doing what they need to do. Like their standards are not my standards, right? But it's just one of those things that I feel all the build up to this and get nothing out of it. Like, yeah, Jay and Kanye had a relationship and Jay's going to be disappointed that things happened that caused them to have a falling out. What new info is this? So Fiddy brought nothing to the table and this article did nothing for me. And I just needed to vent to you. Thanks for sticking with me on that. So this is another one. I guess this is just a video of me complaining about Kanye news, which isn't that abnormal because the media just likes to get negative with Kanye. So I get negative with the media. But this article here on For the Win, Kanye West's latest Yeezy 451 sample leaked, and it's terrible. So you see the sample here. The 451 has been around for a while, like years. We've been seeing photos of it, including in the 2019 Forbes article about Kanye that had the ring of shoes. You can see a lot of 451s in the version of it to that point. It's gone through a number of different designs and styles, but always having this kind of toothed, minimalist mountain ridge aspect on the sides. But this time, instead of having the normal firm shoe top, it actually has the sock ankle and more of a softer cloth on the sides, which is a change up from what we had seen. And this writer just says, honestly, these sneakers look like wet potato sacks. I'm unsure how you're even supposed to slide them on your feet. It was like they were going for the whole sock with a sole look, but ended up creating is that a dumpling? Which, jokes aside, I mean, I get being critical about the shoe. By all means, nobody has to like it or love it, but just how do you not understand how to put the shoe on? If you're even saying it's a sock with a sole, like how the fuck do you put socks on? You just open the sock up and put your foot in. You open this up and put your foot in. So, I mean, be critical, but don't be dumb. Just don't be that dumb with your complaints about it. But this picture is funny, like this around the other dumplings. But I do really still like the shoe. And I think it's one thing to critique it off foot. Yeah, it does look weird, but I would like to see it on foot because you know that the sock's going to have a little stronger grip around the ankle. It could look a lot better on the foot. And I don't even think it looks bad now. Like, I still want one of these shoes. I've liked it since the first time I saw it. I'm into weird stuff, though. I by no means think this is going to be as popular as the 350s, right? Or even the 700s. But there's some cool stuff that you can do with this. And the years that Kanye spent working on it is also interesting, too, because he obviously hasn't liked any of the versions to this point, or else it would have released. But he still hasn't thrown away the idea. So he's continued to innovate on it and just try to make it work because he thinks that tooth design, I assume, is worthwhile in a way. But how do we get it to that perfect point? And that idea of iteration and continuing to work on it rather than scrapping it is, I think, a good lesson in some regards. Sometimes you really do need to move on from an idea, but other times, if you believe in the core of it, it's worth just looking at what improvements you can make and giving it time to really come to life. And then lastly, we have this interview. Roux says she was once made to give Kanye West a written apology, which kind of buries a lot of the commentary. There's actually a lot that she says on her interactions with Kanye. If you go and listen to this, it starts at 4140 specifically. The article says 4130, but it's 4140. And she talks for about 4 minutes about her interactions with Kanye. And there's some fascinating insight. She's a little bit more negative when it comes to Kanye, but more so about what it seems like how he treated other people around her. She says that he was very kind to her in their interactions, but she just witnessed some stuff that she thought was weird, that was hierarchical, whether that's Kanye not being as kind to his staff or to people working with him as fits Roux standards. She doesn't get into specifics about it rather than just saying she does it like hierarchical stuff. And she ended up telling a friend where the apology comes from. She worked with Kanye. She said it wasn't a collaboration like the podcast host said. It was just her showing up and doing what she was told. Kanye, I think he collaborates with a lot of people, but I think he often has a vision for what he wants from somebody and views them as another instrument he can add to the song. So would it be surprising to me that he gets Roux and thinks, this is what I need her to do, go do this, where a lot of artists, especially Roux, was very popular, especially in that 2009, 2010, 2011 period where they were working with each other, might not be used to, as other artists would it be, being treated like an instrument. They're used to being catered to. They're the artist with the idea, but Kanye's just like, no, not to me. So I could see why that would create some tension as well. But she says that it was just kind of an intense experience, a weird experience. And when she finished up and was talking with this friend who also knew Kanye, She told him some of the weird stuff that she saw that didn't sit well with her regarding just what was going on around, not Kanye's behavior to her, but what else was happening. And that made it back to Kanye. He told Kanye, and she had to write Kanye an apology. She didn't say why she had to do that, if it was the record label saying it, or what Kanye's response was to it, or anything like that, just that she had to write an apology to Kanye. And she did, while thinking it was ridiculous, but whatever. But you can read the comments in this article, and there's a tone that can feel more serious or condemning, where when you listen to it, there's a distance, because this is like 10 years between the event and now Roux talking about it. And it's a little bit more calm and just matter of fact, and they're kind of laughing and joking during it. So it doesn't come off quite as serious in tone when you listen to it. It's almost like if I was talking about a fight I got into in elementary school. I was just like, yeah, I hated this kid. We did get along, and we threw some punches. Kind of funny, right? Rather than like, I hate this kid. He's the worst kid. Nothing that intense, but always curious to hear behind the scenes things about Kanye. And despite the negative aspects of this, it does reinforce one of the things that so many people that talk about having met Kanye or had an interaction with Kanye mention how kind he was to them and how patient and how much he listened to them, which always, I think, surprises them, as some have said, because they have an idea of who Kanye West is from the headlines or his speeches or award show moments, that those expectations aren't met by the reality of the guy that they meet one-on-one or in private. So I always like hearing those stories. And whatever other cryptic stuff Roux is talking about, who knows? But it's at least part of the kind aspect of Kanye that we don't often get to hear people talk about. And I think that does it for the news today. If you have any other Kanye topics, given how slow of a news cycle this is for him, that you want to hear me discuss, whether that's songs, verses, albums, anything like best openers, best closers, themes, any explanations that you're looking for, anything, literally anything Kanye related, leave a comment and I'll try to make a video about it soon, maybe in this next week, and would love to have hear from you, have some of your recommendations. And if you want to support the channel, the best way, like, subscribe, comment. It lets YouTube know that this is content that people are enjoying. And other than that, we'll be back soon with more Kanye news, Kanye content, but also New School Critics content, going over books, movies, TV shows, albums. So appreciate you all staying tuned to the channel and checking in with us. Until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.